Phineas and Ferb was a masterpiece. So what am I talking about? Well, like I said in my previous video, I would often find myself bored out of my mind in the middle of summer with no money, no friends, and no responsibilities. That's when Phineas and Ferb comes in the picture. This was the perfect summer cartoon. For obvious reasons, I mean, these guys literally never came off summer break. I wanted their life so bad. I would watch these guys create these awesome gadgets, ranging from small to really huge, all while dealing with a deranged sister who, instead of appreciating their greatness, she would always try to get them in trouble. I would often find myself getting inspired by the bros, and this is when I would go outside and attempt to recreate their greatness. But
I don't even have any good skills.
yeah, I would eventually come back to reality and take my butt back in the crib to watch more Phineas and Ferb. So when I say this show was a masterpiece, it really was. I remember a few summers where I wasn't old enough to get a job, and I would wake up every day excited to watch new episodes of Phineas and Ferb, waiting to see what type of new contraption the bros could come up with for that day. I had built up a little summer routine, if I should call it that. Waking up in the morning, brushing my teeth, eating breakfast, going outside to realize it's too freaking hot, then going back inside to watch more Phineas and Ferb. Bruh, this is no lie. Phineas and Ferb officially premiered on February 1st, 2008 on Disney Channel, running until June 12, 2015. In 2008, I was 10 years old, and if I'm being honest, I can't really remember the exact first time I saw this show. I just know when I discovered it, I never stopped watching it. I got totally lost in the sauce when it comes to this show. This was back before all the streaming services took over, and I had to rely on cable for my cartoons. Everyone around my age know the vibes. And hey, if you're a bit younger today, maybe you don't have access to all these different streaming platforms, and you still rely on cable, then you know exactly what I mean when I say they don't really air the episodes in a particular order. It's like these stations just have a random button turned on or something. This is probably why shows that only had about 3 seasons felt a lot longer than they were, because I didn't really have a particular order to go off. At least this is how it was back in the day. Yeah, it was pretty random, but to be honest, as a kid, I never saw it that way. Now, as we all know, the show follows Phineas Flynn and his stepbrother Ferb Fletcher, who are between 8 to 10 years old, and we got to experience their adventures during summer vacation. A lot of these inventions the bros would create would be super unrealistic and scaled to their ages, or heck, even to anyone, because even fully functional adults would have problems creating a lot of their inventions. Their inventions was the bread and butter of this show. I don't want my cartoons being realistic. It's a cartoon for a reason. I want to see wacky adventures and things I couldn't possibly do in reality. And that is exactly what this show gave me. On top of getting these massive creations, we get a super controlling sister who becomes obsessed with exposing her brothers to their mother. Man, Candace spent her entire teenage years obsessing over her brothers. Talk about crazy. But this was in fact the show's running gag. Candace almost exposing her brothers every episode, but some unbelievable thing would always happen that would result in her failing to do so. We all know it was inevitable, meaning the show's creators would eventually let Candace get her way and expose one of her brother's creations to their mother, which she actually does in season 1, episode 16. This episode was insane, and in the midst of us diving into this show, we just have to discuss this episode as well. Candace finally busts Phineas and Ferb when these two build a flying car and a control panel in the backyard. Man, these guys were talented. But anyways, I always thought about the reaction that I thought his mother would have if she was ever to see one of their creations, and the guys getting sent to a reformatory school to have their imaginations removed was definitely my last guess. Yeah, this episode was crazy, and I was baffled when I watched it for the first time. Now I will give their mother some credit because she didn't exactly know this was going to take place. She just thought she was making the best decision for them. Good thing Candace realizes later on in this episode that the school is corrupt and goes on a mission with the help of Jeremy to rescue the bros. Really good episode if you haven't seen it. Now simultaneously to all of this, their pet platypus lives a whole double life. with one side being this sweet, quiet, beloved pet of Phineas and Ferb, and the other being an agent at this secret agency who employs animal spies. Perry has a arch nemesis who goes by Hans Doofenshmirtz. In every episode, they have these amazing battles, with Perry always getting the upper hand, and as you watch this show more and more, you start to become equally attached to these two, as you would with Phineas and Ferb. It was like having four main characters. This show would also have some recurring characters such as Baljeet. He was a boy from India who would typically help Phineas and Ferb with their ideas. He would also constantly get bullied by this man Buford.
Well, in that case, step aside, Weena.
Buford was the bully in the town of Danville that joins the bros on their adventures. Not sure why they had this guy around in the first place, being that all he does is bully everyone. But hey, maybe he will feed them knuckle sandwiches if they said otherwise. Bruh. Isabella would also come around often. She was the across the street neighbor and a good friend of Phineas and Ferb. It was also well known that she had a huge crush on this man Phineas, which was kinda hard to miss, to be honest. I mean, she was all over my gut throughout the series without Phineas noticing a thing. Or maybe he did and just didn't want to act on it. Who knows? Isabella definitely had an important role in the show though, with her being the leader of a fireside girls troupe. There would often be volunteers to help Phineas and Ferb with their big ideas. So I definitely appreciated these characters. Man, this show was just absolutely amazing, and I never knew a single person who watched this show and didn't like it. So that leads me to my next question, which is why did Phineas and Ferb end in the first place? Well, although many shows have interesting theories and wild reasons for ending, this show didn't really fit that narrative, with one of the creators of the show stating in an interview, and I quote, "Look, without naming any names here, we all know that there have been TV shows that overstayed their welcome, who did themselves a real disservice by hanging in there a season or three too long. And we just didn't want this to be the case with Phineas and Ferb. We didn't want our show to be one of those shows that overstayed its welcome. We really wanted to go out strong and shut down production while people were still very fond of the show. And I honestly believe that every show should follow the path that they did. How I see it, you either cut the show while it's still on top of its game, or keep it going long enough to see the show become dog. And yeah, I know this is way easier said than done, because in reality, who really wants their show to end while it's still really good? Like, come on. But in the end, this is always for the best. So did you guys get a chance to watch Phineas and Ferb in its earlier days or in its prime? Or have you ever found yourself in a house in the middle of summer with nothing to do except watch TV? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, here's more chill content if you're interested. And until next time, peace.